My name is Anisa Hawes. I'm an independent researcher and web archivist. Following a decade of working in national museums, I now practice freelance. Last year, I undertook a commission from the Imperial War Museum to archive the online life of 1418 Now, the World War I Centenary Art Commissions Programme. That is, one large website, 10 microsites dedicated to key commissions, plus 3 of their associated social media profiles on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube. Or 4,646 URLs, 329 YouTube videos, 590 Instagram posts, and 16,877 individual tweets. I work with Webrecorder, a free open-source web archiving tool created by Ilya Kramer and Rhizome. I built these archives using a blend of Rhizome's hosted service and the Webrecorder desktop app. Careful planning is critical to achieving comprehensive capture. I drew a detailed sitemap to understand the website's structure. I marked where tabs and paths intersected or separated. I needed an overview of the whole terrain to be certain that I'd archived every page. I dissected the website into units of content, subtabs, categories, pages and items, mapping pop-ups and noting the duration of embeds. As I did so, I began to see manageable blocks which would delineate my capture sessions. I was gaining a sense of the website's extent and depth, whilst devising a logical way to traverse it. Capture in Webrecorder involves performing the interactions which bring the web to life. Clicking, scrolling, and pressing play to watch or listen. Only functionality which a curator activates and only content she explores during capture will be functional and explorable by a researcher browsing the archive. A richly detailed web archive is built action by action and click by click. I followed my on-screen map and kept a notebook and pencil by my side. After each capture session, I did a quick, systematic check of visuals and playback. Later, I reviewed each page more closely. Sometimes this was swift. I could simply scroll down a page and tick off the features I'd mapped. Other times, I noticed something missing or incomplete and set to patching in the missing data or recapturing the page. But among a handful of archived pages, I found breakages which I couldn't patch and mend myself. Here, Webrecorder's ability to auto-fetch the sets of URLs which define images in responsive design had been flummoxed. With Dragon Espenscheid's help, the images were instead scraped from 1418 Now's CDN, or Content Delivery Network, and combined with my work. While here, the problem remains somewhat a mystery. Several YouTube embeds didn't offer reliable playback on pages which featured the same video twice. Unresolved problems like this one were important to document in the archive. I used Webrecorder's list descriptions to signpost exactly where a researcher would find a problem and explain what they would encounter. I also used this space to note any errors on the live web page which would necessarily be mirrored in the archive, and draw a clear distinction between capture errors and live site errors. This project comprises 3 Twitter collections. The first relates specifically to Jeremy Deller's We're Here Because We're Here, a memorial event marking 100 years since the Battle of the Somme on 1st of July 2016. My initial capture attempt preceded Webrecorder's autopilot feature. I used Twitter's advanced search facility to retrieve tweets posted on that day, which included the hashtag #WeAreHere. A simple auto-scroll button enabled me to collect what I think of as the surface of the feed, all the way down to the earliest tweet. Next, I began the action-by-action work of opening tweets, expanding discussion threads, and tabbing through images to make these elements of content accessible to researchers browsing the archive. I don't actually know how many tweets I collected on that day, because at the time Webrecorder didn't display individual tweets as distinct URLs in the index, but I collected around 1.5 gigabytes of data. Soon after, I was invited to participate in beta testing the new autopilot scripted behaviours and decided to try again. Many experiments later, the file I delivered represents a combination of autopilot and manual capture. The second collection comprises all tweets posted by 1418Now during the programme. This time I performed a sequence of searches to retrieve tweets 1 year at a time. My search parameters are decipherable within the archived URLs, but are also visible in simplified form on Twitter's blue banner. Autopilot made it possible to create collections far more comprehensive in scope than would have been practicable with manual capture. I used it to collect tweets in the latest tab, the largest reservoir of content in each section. I chose to capture the other tabs manually to ensure the fullest detail possible. I supplemented this with a third sampler collection of around 1,200 tweets posted by 1418Now during the final phase of the programme. I wanted to capture the feed in situ on the profile homepage as a non-logged in Twitter user would have encountered it. Initially, I also used autopilot to capture Instagram. It worked well, aside from difficulty capturing stories and user tags on posts. So I decided to try again, manually this time. And working this way, I was able to enrich the detail. The archive I delivered comprises 590 posts, including stories, videos, image stacks, comments, and tags. Collecting 1418Now's YouTube channel was more of a challenge. Each video on YouTube is associated with multiple URLs, which vary depending on whether users opt to click directly on a thumbnail from the home page, watch a playlist in sequence, or choose a video at random. Capture was feasible, but when it came to access, intuitive browsing behaviour would be impossible. So I decided to manually collect each video via its canonical URL and create lists in Webrecorder to mirror each playlist on the channel. I recognised that this meant losing context, as well as metadata including tallies of views and likes. But in discussion with 1418Now's archivists, agreed that this would be the most effective way to capture the content itself. I mapped the contents of the channel to plan my capture sessions. This also helped me to manage duplication in the archive, as many videos were included in several playlists. Each site I archive poses new challenges. The web and social media platforms are continually changing. In response, developers of archiving software are continually adapting their tools. So my methodology is never fixed. Rather, I am always testing, troubleshooting, tweaking. Web archiving practice is defined by our analysis, our observations and our experiments, as well as the pages we collect.